Sorry.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It is so good to see you all over here. I've got a nice full house tonight, and we're going to continue our series from Dr. Jim McAfee's book, Your Body Sign Language. And we are continuing on with the brain and nerves. Let me get back to my screen share again. And I need to do that. There we go. Right. So, as I was saying, we are busy with the book, Your Body Sign Language, all taken from Dr. Jim McAfee's book of the same title. And tonight we're going on to migraine headaches. We've covered quite a few other things through the brain and the nerves. And tonight we cover the migraine headaches. And this seems to become, or seems to be, quite a common problem. And I know growing up, my mother had migraines on a regular basis. And I think both of my sisters have suffered from migraines over the years. And it does seem to be more common in women than in men. And fortunately, thank heavens, I have never experienced a migraine, and I hope never to experience one either. Okay, so this is a very bad headache, and that's probably an understatement listening to what people have said who have experienced this. And so it's a very bad headache that sometimes results in nausea and vomiting, often affecting only one side of the head and making one sensitive to light or noise. And I think it's probably safe to say that it is more than just a headache. Migraines result from altered blood flow to or through the brain. They are frequently associated with allergic responses to foods and deficiencies of omega-3 oils and magnesium. And I do remember that my mother was allergic to certain things. So she had, sadly enough, certain sweets. She knew that was a trigger for migraines, but she really liked the sweets and was willing to put up with the migraines from time to time. I'm going to get Jenny to just give us her story a little bit later when we about finished over here on her experience with migraines and omega-3. A severe migraine attack can totally incapacitate an individual. And I've heard of some people who have been flat for like 2 or 3 days, and they have to lock themselves away in a darkened, quiet room just to be able to cope. Studies of migraines often find low magnesium levels in the body of those who suffer from this condition. I find that interesting because I'd really, really like to try and offer our magnesium to people now that we've got a very, very good magnesium, to people who are suffering from migraines, and see how big a difference it's going to make. An easily assimilated magnesium supplement often produces substantial benefit. And with our new magnesium, it's been developed and designed to assimilate into the body within a matter of minutes. So it would be very interesting to test it and see. Magnesium improves blood flow through the brain. So, as we said, magnesium. Fish oils also improve circulation as well as reducing inflammation of the brain. As we know, fish oils or omega-3 are an extremely potent natural anti-inflammatory. Regular use of fish oil may decrease the severity of migraines or eliminate it. And I would think quite often, or quite probably, that would depend on the cause of the migraine. If fish oils are going to improve migraine, adequate quantities must be used for a period of 2 to 3 months. And we're not talking 1 a day, we're talking upwards of 6 a day. because that is how much some people need. It all depends. One has to really experiment with this to see how much omega-3 you need. What is your optimum amount? And to do that, you start off with 1 and build up. And then you go to 2, then 3, then 4, etc. Sometimes 2 at a time, so 2 morning, 2 lunch, 2 supper. Build it up and see where your pain levels come under control. And this would be true not just for migraines, but also for spinal issues, etc. A generous intake of vitamin B2, and we're talking up to 400 milligrams a day, has shown itself to be remarkably effective for migraine sufferers. This is not a nutritional benefit of vitamin B2, but rather a pharmaceutical or drug-like effect. This should only be done under medical supervision, partly because too much of anything is bad for you. And as the toxicologists will tell you, the poison is in the dose. So if your system is not able to handle that much vitamin B, you're going to end up with side effects. So it is best to only do this under treatment with a qualified doctor who knows what the problems can be and how to treat it accordingly. So with nutrition, one takes nutrition on a daily basis as a sort of prophylactic use, I would say. But should there be a problem in the body, should there be a depletion or not enough of a certain nutrient, you can and probably should take significantly more of that nutrient to get you through that particular condition. As somebody likened it, they said, during training, an army goes to a shooting range and they fire bullets at a target, but they only have a limited amount of bullets. During a war situation or a fight situation, they use significantly more bullets. And that is how we need to look at nutrition in our system. Because if we are undergoing a disease or a condition like a migraine, one needs significantly more of the nutrients than just the normal prophylactic usage. So be aware of that and don't be scared to take more. Obviously, there are certain nutrients that you can't take too much of, like things like vitamin A. So generally your fat-soluble vitamins or supplements can have a buildup and a toxic effect. Quite often your synthetics will have a toxic effect. But in most cases, you can safely take a fair amount. I will get into that at another time as to what a fair amount is or what too much of a certain nutrient would be. Migraines are often caused by food intolerances or allergies. These foods include chocolate, alcohol, gluten, caffeine, and high-fat diets. And as we've spoken about this before in previous talks, sometimes people have an overwhelming desire to have a particular food, but that is caused by an allergy to that same food. So your chocoholics, your alcoholics would crave more and more and more of that food, but actually, for some weird reason, they're allergic to it and therefore shouldn't actually have it. Gluten intolerance, pardon me, should be considered in chronic headache conditions, including migraines. And when we talk chronic conditions, we're talking headaches probably 3 or more times a week for no known reason. And there's a lot of reasons for a headache. Could be anything from a food allergy or a food intolerance through to, worst case scenario, a brain tumor. But most of us won't have that issue, but quite probably you could, in fact, have a food allergy that you are unaware of. gluten intolerance often results in alterations of the blood flow in the brain, and avoidance has benefited many migraine and headache sufferers. So if you know somebody who regularly experiences a migraine or chronic headaches, let them cut out gluten out of their diet for a while and see if that actually makes a difference. Establishing a more normal sleep pattern reduces the incidence of migraine in children. And children can, and quite often are, affected by migraines in a more severe way than adults. And it's quite possible that they're not sleeping properly, quite possibly due to excessive screen time on a laptop, TV, cell phone, etc. So watch those things and try and rule out where the cause comes from. Migraines that occur only at premenstrual times may be contributed to by an excess estrogen or estrogen dominance. So if you're having migraines on a monthly basis, maybe check and see and work it out. There might be a link, and that can be dealt with accordingly. So the suggestions: avoid or reduce consumption of chocolate, sugar, and alcohol. Pardon me. Some of the triggers over here include things like red wine, junk food, chocolate, citrus, salty foods, etc. Consider the possibility of intolerance to gluten or other foods. Again, if in doubt, speak to your physician, ask them to do an allergy test on you. Increase magnesium intake from food and supplements. Remembering that supplements are there in conjunction to food, diet is always best. And supplement with B-complex vitamins and fish oils. And we have two of the very, very best of those particular products available. Multiple sclerosis. So that ends migraines. So Jenny, I'm going to come back to you just a little bit later. Multiple sclerosis, or MS. This is something that affects the central nervous system and can be very, very nasty. What happens is that the body attacks its own myelin sheath or myelin-producing cells in the central nervous system. And around every nerve is a thing called a myelin sheath, which is almost like it is a protective factor. And if you think of it like an electric cable, you've got your copper wire surrounded by rubber. Now, that is more or less how your nerves work. So your nerves will run through the copper wire, and the rubber sheath on the outside protects you and the copper wire. Now, imagine this. You've got a copper wire lying over the floor, and you've ridden over it, and you walked over it, and through wear and tear, the rubber sheath now wears away. The next time that you inadvertently walk over the copper wire and it's live, you are going to get a shock. And that is more or less how multiple sclerosis works on the nerves, is it chews away the myelin sheath and it exposes the nerves to nature, basically. Common symptoms include blurred vision, loss of muscle strength, numbness and tingling in the extremities, meaning your hands and feet, and a loss of control of the bowels. So you just got no control and things can get messy. MS may develop as a result of immune dysfunction due to vitamin D deficiency. Once again, we see the importance of vitamin D. And vitamin D is almost a bit of a misnomer because vitamin D technically is not a vitamin, it's a hormone. Gluten intolerance, estrogen excess, and heavy metal exposure, including lead or mercury, may also be factors in causing MS. MS provides a model for autoimmune disease in that it has similarities to juvenile diabetes, otherwise known as type 1 diabetes, and rheumatoid arthritis. And we are familiar with rheumatoid arthritis because we've been through that before. One of the most remarkable characteristics of MS is that it's occurrence is inversely related to vitamin D intake, either from fish oils or sun exposure, meaning that the lower the vitamin D, the greater the occurrence of MS. Vitamin D we can find in seafoods, cheese, eggs, omega-3s, cod liver oil, mushrooms, milk, etc. Those with MS often suffer with digestive problems. Again, we can see the link between what's going in is your diet, what's being absorbed is your nutrition. If your nutrition is not working properly, you can eat as much as you like, your body's not getting the nutrients out of it, you're going to have a problem. Poor protein digestion may result in deficiency of the amino acid histidine, which the body uses to manufacture histamine. Ever heard of antihistamine? Vitamin D has been shown to alter developing immune cells, so they are less likely to engage in autoimmune activity. And from that perspective, you can think of, again, an electric light switch. You walk into a room, you turn the switch on, the light comes on, you do whatever it is you need to do, leave the room, turn the switch off, light goes off, and life carries on as normal. Now, what happens with an autoimmune issue is that you walk into the room, turn the light on, do your thing, walk out, but the light switch never turns off. Now go and try and change that light bulb, you're going to have problems. And that really is what happens in our system with an autoimmune activity. Many autoimmune diseases are found more frequently in women than in men. I'm not too sure why. One suggestion is that hormones play a role in these problems. Hormones cause a lot of problems in the body if they are not operating correctly. So as long as your hormones are operating in a balanced form, you won't have a problem. Should there be an imbalance somewhere along the line, you're going to have a problem. Ladies, unfortunately, are more prone to hormone imbalances than men are. Reducing estrogen dominance may decrease the risk of MS. Nutrients that build healthy brain and nerve cells include omega-3 oils, lecithin, and antioxidants. And that is why these are very important for ladies who are trying to fall pregnant. And you should really get these nutrients in your system before falling pregnant, not afterwards. These should replace the junk fats in the diet, which cause a deterioration in the vitality and health of brain and nerve cells. Suggestions. Sounds simple, but not always easy. Avoid junk fats in the diet. And that would be a classic junk food diet. Does this look familiar to things that you see around you on a regular basis? Certainly does to me. And I often see people with traditional slop chips or French fries. For those who don't understand what slop chips means, hamburgers, cookies, cream, excess sugar, etc. Consider the possibility of gluten intolerance or other allergies. Again, be tested if in doubt. Correct hormone abnormalities, especially estrogen dominance. From this perspective, I would suggest, again, seeing a physician, not a GP, but a physician or your gynae. Investigate the possibility of heavy metal poisoning. And the way they do that is through, as we've spoken before, about hair tests, where they can snip off some hair and test it for things like lead, or through a blood test. And some of your toxic issues are your electronic waste, direct contact through heavy metals, which can be discarded into wastewater, sorry, into the sea, which then filters through into plants, which we eat, and into fish, which we eat as well. We need to obtain adequate vitamin D from sunlight or cod liver oil. For those of us here in South Africa, I do believe that we have a very good opportunity to get access to as much sunlight vitamin D as possible. Those people in the frozen north are probably going to have more of an issue getting sufficient vitamin D because A, it's cold, and B, you don't obviously go outside. Because of that, when you do, you're covered up in 6 inches of padding and protection against the cold. Now, interestingly enough, vitamin D levels are also very low in bright sunshine countries as well, like Saudi Arabia or Australia. Why? Because most people in those areas are completely covered up to protect their skin against the sunshine because they are scared about skin cancer. Whereas what they need to be doing, what they need to be doing is to be spending time in the sun. Doesn't have to be very long, but a good 20 to 30 minutes at a time with a fair amount of skin open to the sun for your body to be able to get that the ultraviolet rays and synthesize it into vitamin D. And if you're not able to do all of that, then you need to supplement with vitamin A and D or cod liver oil. We need to obtain nutrients essential for building and supporting healthy brain and nerve cells. And these include the B complex vitamins, your antioxidants, and quality fats. Sound familiar? One of the most important antioxidants there would be vitamin E, which is also a quality fat. Now we're starting to get into some of the mental issues. And these include things like schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is diagnosed with hallucinations, fears, disorientation, confusion, and incoherence. And these are some of the signs of schizophrenia in young adults: depression, anxiety, trouble concentrating, diminished self-confidence, unclear thinking, low energy levels. How many people do you know who talk about these things and complain about these problems on a fairly regular basis? I think this is becoming a much bigger issue than we are aware of. All right, I'm down to a few minutes over here. Schizophrenia can make an individual incapable of normal functioning. Some immune cells line the gut that produce a chemical messenger called interleukin-2 or IL-2. Schizophrenia is common in those with gluten intolerance. Again, gluten sticks its little head up. This may be a common trigger for activation of the white blood cells that line the digestive tract to produce interleukin. Those with rheumatoid arthritis and depression have a totally different kind of immune activation, known as interleukin-1, and have far less incidence of schizophrenia than the general population. That's an interesting observation over there. It has been found that fasting for up to 30 days allows up to 70% of patients recovering. Fasting eliminates food allergens, allows the digestive tract to heal, and cleanses the digestive tract of harmful bacteria. I would suggest, if you're wanting to go on a prolonged fast like this, please do it under the guidance of your doctor. Schizophrenics are often deficient in several nutrients. These include vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, and vitamins B6 and B3. The omega-6 fatty acid DGLA, I won't get into the wording of what that stands for, may be deficient as well. One of the symptoms of pellagra, which is an extreme B3 deficiency, is mental illness. Dr. Abram Hoffer, who's a Canadian psychiatrist, used high doses of B3 and C to treat schizophrenia, with some very good results, by the way. Early researchers on pellagra found that 60 times more niacin was required to treat pellagra than was necessary to prevent it. Yeah, we come down to that again, that prevention is significantly less painful and more effective than cure. Doctors Hart and Chow reviewed over 200 scientific studies and concluded that the shortage of a single essential vitamin, mineral element, amino acid, or fatty acid will create a shock wave that spreads to affect the utilization and/or function of every other essential nutrient. There's a scary thought. Asking the body or brain to function without an essential nutrient may be likened to asking a musician to play an orchestral piece with a violin that has a broken string. If you want to liken that to a motor vehicle, it would be asking a Formula One racer to race with normal petrol and not the high octane fuel that they do use. So the suggestions: consider the possibility of acquired dependence for a larger than normal amount of some nutrients. Okay, and that's for some reason they're now frozen. Okay, consume only high quality oils. And these include things like your olive oils, peanut oils, that sort of thing. Eliminate gluten and other allergens in the diet. So check labels on what you're eating and supplement with vitamin C, zinc, and B complex. And these are some examples of them. All right, I'm going to end my talk over here for now, because I would like Jenny to just give us, she's got about 5 minutes to just give us a brief overview of her experience with migraines and omega-3, please. You literally have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, that was a bomber. You didn't warn me. Yes. That's enough to bring on a migraine. Yeah, I was plagued with, or I inherited migraines. Terrible, terrible. And my son has also inherited that. So that is a male figure doing it, not just myself and my sister. I used to get migraines on a monthly basis, up to 7 days, that my glasses indented into my face so much. That's how I swelled up with the migraine. I was nauseous, or I often said I had a migraine down here. I just felt so terrible. And that was before Neolife came into my life. Then I started Neolife without thinking of the migraines. And I suddenly realized one day that I'm not getting them that badly. Now, when I start getting a headache, I take 6 minimum omegas, one shot. If it's very bad, I take 10 or even 12, one shot. Also, interestingly enough, Sean, I lick that pink salt and then take a glass of hot water, and the migraine goes away without any problem. I had a little girl in the class the other day that was very anxious. She has an anxiety problem, and she got a terrible, terrible headache. She was 14 years old. Her father was with her in the class, and I asked his permission if I could give her some omega, which I did. I gave her 4 and told her to have a glass of hot water, which she did, and the migraine went away. So I can relate that, yes, migraines and omega-3 or omega-6, our salmon oil omega, it's just, as Sean would say, a no-brainer. They have to go together. It takes the inflammation away, I am assuming.
Correct. Have you tried the magnesium?
I'm now taking magnesium and I'm not getting migraines. Is it coincidence? Is it not? I don't know, but I'm not getting migraines anymore at all.
Good, good.
Except when I have a slab of chocolate.
There you go. So
Or
now
a
you
beer.
can see the relationship between food intolerance and a migraine trigger.
I know chocolate is my downfall.
And chocolate actually has arginine in it, and that is one of the triggers. And arginine is also found in hard cheeses, amongst other things, and I think in red wine too. And those are part of what triggers these sorts of things.
I cannot have red wine.
There you
I
go.
can feel it. I have one glass of red wine. I'm still drinking the red wine very slowly, and I can feel that migraine coming.
Mhm. Okay, that's the arginine in there.
Dawn,
Yes,
can I quickly say something?
go for it. You got 2 minutes.
The multiple sclerosis,
Mhm.
carotenoids,
Mhm.
to help balance the immune system. I've just heard that so often, and I've suggested it to people. And Dr. Don Lawson has, in his talks, there was in his little books, I think there's somewhere one of the carotenoids, taking a lot, and just to help, because it is definitely apparently an autoimmune disease. Okay, so I
Correct.
just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Right. Anybody
Can I
else
ask
got any
something,
comments?
please?
Yes, go for it.
Jenny, why do you take hot water with the omega-3? Just to melt the outer layer of the capsule?
No. Hot water is the thing for migraine as well. Hot water with a squeeze of lemon juice is a very good thing for migraines as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank God. I don't know what's a headache.
You are very,
You're
very
lucky.
fortunate. It's not
Very,
fun.
very.
All right. Okay, I am going to pause this recording